I knew kind of that there was something wrong, but the doctors would say, well, you're very young, keep trying, come back in a year or so and see how things go. So we went back in a year, and then we tried other fertility treatment which failed. Deep down I just knew there was something else, there was something wrong that just needs to be fixed, and no one was able to help me.
Infertility affects 1 in 6 Irish couples. For couples searching for answers to their many questions, it can be a stressful and worrying time. And for some, conceiving and keeping the pregnancy can be just a distant dream. Just 10 years ago, a little-known fertility care treatment center opened its doors in Galway, and what resulted since then is nothing short of a phenomenon.
We're marking 10 years of fertility care and naprotechnology in Ireland and Europe, and to date we've had nearly 800 children born as a result of the techniques that we use. And we just figured, well, with 10 years of practice and all these success stories, it'd be a shame to let the anniversary pass and not mark the occasion. So today's a fun day where we've invited all of the couples and their children who've had success to come along and have a party, and we just hope to have a lot of fun. We've seen couples with as many as 8 and 9 miscarriages, those with over 10 years of infertility. Our longest was one couple with 17 years of infertility, multiple failed IVF attempts, and with this new technique that Professor Hilger's developed in the United States, we were able to achieve success for quite a significant number of those.
In 1976 we started a research program, and what we were really doing was doing an independent evaluation of a kind of new method called the Billings ovulation method. Right from the beginning we began having women who had a whole variety of different sort of reproductive problems, infertility, repetitive miscarriages. I mean, the sort of basic run-of-the-mill stuff that you see in a gynecology practice. And we had them start charting their cycles, and all of a sudden we saw things that we didn't ever know existed really before, because nobody had done this. So it began a search for some of the underlying causes. 2004, which would be about 28 years of research into all of this, we finally published what I would call a definitive textbook on this, called The Medical and Surgical Practice of Naprotechnology. So in a way it's new. It would be new to a lot of people, but from our point of view, we've been using it for a very long time, and we have a lot of experience with it. With naprotechnology, we teach them what their highest fertility is in their cycle, and it becomes not a guessing game, but it becomes an opportunity where they can use those days specifically. And then if they don't get pregnant over a short period of time, then there may be a problem, and we can investigate that, look for the underlying causes, then provide answers.
This fertility treatment, founded in the United States by Dr. Tom Hilgers, is gaining significant momentum across Europe, and one Irish doctor has been at the forefront.
What Dr. Boyle's done here is really, really fantastic. He's got great leadership skills. He's got great insight into how this works and how to work with it with patients. It's one of the really the great programs now, any place in the world.
Our policy is, if we're going to help somebody, phase 1 is find the problem. We get a huge number of people who come to us and they haven't been diagnosed before. But with fertility care, we can find the problem. Once we find it, we fix it. And then once it's fixed, then we wait patiently, somewhere between 1 or 12 cycles, hopefully for pregnancy to follow.
I wanted a child, and basically at the time I would have done anything. Like IVF, it was there, as far as I was aware, it was my only way it was going to work. And you know, doctors kept reassuring and saying, like, you're quite young and you have time on your side, you have youth on your side, and your chances probably will be quite good. You know, after 3 attempts of IVF, we didn't know where to go, and I was heartbroken. I didn't think I could carry on, basically, at the time. I spoke to Phil on the phone, and he knew straight away what the problem was, which I couldn't believe. I finally got an answer, you know, after being with all these doctors over the years, and he's seen us within a week or so, I think. And once we got down there, he was just so understanding, so supportive, and he knew exactly what was wrong. I said, no, this is it. This is where we're going to start our family. This is where we're going to have our baby.
You get a couple from day one, they don't know much about their fertility. You explain how the whole process works. They go to a teacher, they get homework to do, and eventually they move from a point of limited knowledge to a huge amount of knowledge where they cooperate with the doctor in helping to identify and treat the underlying problems.
Well, the first thing we do is we have them start charting this system called the Creighton model system. It's a natural method of regulating fertility. It's based on the vaginal discharges of secretions from the cervix that are very, very important to fertility. We begin to see abnormalities in those patterns when we have this group of women charting. Then we can do hormone testing, we can do ultrasound testing for ovulation, we can do a laparoscopy, which is a look inside the abdomen with a scope. Then we can sit down and map out a whole strategy for treatment.
This whole system has opened up new doorways to evaluating and diagnosing problems that previously escaped detection. So now that we have the ability to identify problems, we can target the treatment and say, in your case you need medications to improve hormones, in your case you need antibiotic treatment, or you might need something to improve mucus flow, or whatever the essential thing is for the couple to become pregnant. So it allows us to go quickly to the treatment that's needed, and by targeting the problem area, you get more effective treatment, restore normal function, and then a better chance of successful pregnancy.
I have a rare condition called hypothalamic amenorrhea, which means I don't ovulate. And basically, like, Dr. Boyle was the only person who was able to put a finger on my condition. And, you know, through all the years I had been through fertility treatment here, no doctor was ever curious or wondered why this was the case.
The difference between naprotechnology and in vitro fertilization is that with naprotechnology, it's really important for us to establish a diagnosis, find out an explanation, why are you not becoming pregnant, and target our treatment to fix that. With in vitro fertilization, the diagnosis isn't so important because you're going to bypass the problem. And ultimately what happens is, if we can achieve success with naprotechnology, the problem is solved, you can get pregnant repeatedly. But with in vitro fertilization, you're still infertile. The underlying ill health condition that leaves you infertile is still there.
With this treatment, it was just to see it actually working. You know, from day one, you know, to the end of the month, it was absolutely amazing just to see it working, and I didn't get upset. It was the first time I didn't cry. And then the following month, same thing again, seeing it working. And so the third month, I conceived.
Josh was our first baby, little boy. He's 7 now.
Yeah, 7 years ago. Yeah, it was just amazing. We just kind of kept looking at him, wouldn't let anyone touch him. We just, they had me crying now. Yeah, when he was born, I was just, couldn't believe it. And the first person we rang was Dr. Boyle. Jamie, he was born a year and a half after Josh. He's 5 now. Then we had Gabrielle. She was our little surprise, our little girl.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for Dr. Boyle and Napro, they probably wouldn't be here. Like, we don't know where we'd be, but I can nearly positively say they wouldn't be here only for him. When you go down to see him, like, you're in a waiting room and there's hardly anyone ever there. Yeah. But to see all these people and all these babies and newborn babies,
all these lives have been changed.
It's absolutely amazing. After what we went through, I never thought that we would have children. You know, everything was so hard. You know, where with Napro, everything just fell into place for us.
Well, it is true. On one level, it's so simple. You say, surely something this simple can't be that effective. But if you do the simple things well, you can be really surprised with the results. And I think it's one of the challenges trying to convince my peers in medicine that this works is, can something that simple really be that effective? It just doesn't look high-tech enough to a lot of people looking at it from the outside. But once you get into it, you appreciate that the simple things reveal very complex information about how the body works. And doing the simple things well can give stunning surprises and effective results.
Naprotechnology is based on solid scientific research. A major breakthrough in the area of naprotechnology arrived in late 2008. Research carried out on the innovative fertility care treatment was published in the peer-reviewed Journal of the American Board of Family Medicine. This world's first means that patients and GPs alike can now access key scientific information on the treatment.
Natural procreative technology is a combination of some of the best medicine in the world. I mean, I'm a laser surgeon. I do microsurgical procedures on the fallopian tubes. We do some very, very sophisticated things surgically and medically in terms of the medications we use and hormone testing that we do and so forth. So we're not at all anti-technology, which some people might think. But what we're trying to do is work cooperatively with the cycle as opposed to suppressing or destroying it. And if we do that, actually our success rates are much higher than what you would normally experience with an IVF clinic, for example. All in all, about 90% of the people who come to us either have their own children, which is the majority, overwhelming majority, but there's that other percentage who will go on to an adoptive family, and so 90% will have a family when they get through this whole process.
I mean, for us going through the whole thing, we found it was, you know, it made sense, it was systematic, it seemed scientific, and you know, and the results proved it to work. It's amazing to think that none of these 3 children would be here if we hadn't met Dr. Boyle. I find it strange that it isn't more widely known, and I'd certainly be supportive of, and I'd certainly encourage anyone who wanted to have children who are having problems to give it a go.
Through recommendations through a few of Joe's work colleagues, we just made an appointment and we came over to see him. And after approximately about 15 months of treatment with Dr. Boyle, we ended up with Matthew, who we had after 7 years of trying for a family.
All these people gathered here, 1,000 people and 800 babies that Dr. Phil Boyle has helped conceive, is all just word of mouth. So it needs to go nationwide, it needs to go to the national papers, it needs to go to the broadcaster, and it needs to get recognition.
We never got a positive diagnosis of why, you know, we hadn't had a baby.
You're under the umbrella of unexplained infertility, but nobody actually tries to investigate why it is unexplained.
To go to Phil and have a definite diagnosis of our trouble, and then to be able to just put it right within a couple of months. Oh, it's amazing. It changed our life because before NAPRO we had felt we had reached the end of the road with no chance of having a baby, and we're sort of desperate and unhappy and desolate. And now we've got Alice and Lucy and Rose, and we have a life full. And our life has changed completely.
Sleepless nights and happiness.
If there's ever going to be a cure in the field of infertility, it will be because of the approach that's taken in naprotechnology. The current approaches in the artificial reproductive technologies will never build a cure because they don't look for the diseases, they don't look for the underlying causes. The way the science is built and developed should eventually lead to multiple cures, actually, because there's so many different problems when we deal with fertility-related aspects. We take another 2 or 3 generations down the road, and I think it'll capture, you know, the majority of what's happening in reproductive medicine. It's that incredibly significant of an approach to medical care.
I mean, this is a natural thing. It should be one of the first things before you even see any other doctors.
It should come first before anything. You know, you should actually learn about your fertility, know what's going on, know what you need to do. If you do educate yourself and you're aware, it makes a big, big difference.
In defence of my peers who would be working in this area, they just haven't been exposed to this information yet. And I personally believe once they are exposed to this information and they see the new ability we have to identify problems that have escaped detection, I think they'll get excited about it. And they'll say, well, before we didn't know how to check for this, but now we do know, and I think it will become part of mainstream practice for infertility treatment.